In the world of outlaw biker culture, few figures stand out as much as the most dangerous riders in history. These men not only ruled the road but left a legacy of violence, crime, and chaos in their wake. From ruthless gang leaders to fearless enforcers, they embodied the rebellious spirit of biker gangs while striking fear into the hearts of their enemies. The most dangerous bikers in history, riders who lived fast, broke the law, and carved their names into the dark side of motorcycle culture. Buckle up for a wild ride through their notorious stories. Number 1. Harry Taco Bowman. Once upon a time in the shadowy world of outlaw motorcycle clubs, there was a man named Harry Taco Bowman. Rising through the ranks of the Outlaws Motorcycle Club, Taco became the international president in 1984, a position he held with an iron fist until 1999. Under his leadership, the Outlaws were embroiled in a fierce and bloody rivalry with the Hells Angels. Taco orchestrated a series of violent attacks against their rivals, turning the streets into battlegrounds. Bombings, shootings, and brutal assaults became the tools of his trade as he sought to expand the Outlaws' territory and influence. The law, however, was never far behind. In 1997, Taco's reign of terror caught the attention of federal authorities. Indicted on charges of racketeering and murder, he was placed on the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list. For 18 months, Taco evaded capture, living a life on the run, always one step ahead of the law. But in 1999, his luck ran out. Captured and brought to trial, Taco faced the full weight of his crimes. In 2001, he was convicted of multiple murders, bombings, and a litany of other offenses, including drug trafficking and firearms violations. The court handed down a sentence of 2 life terms plus 83 years, ensuring that Taco would spend the rest of his days behind bars. Number 2, Ruben Cavazos, Mongols. Ruben Cavazos, once a respected radiology technician, took a dark turn when he joined the Mongols Motorcycle Club. Born in Los Angeles in 1956, Cavazos grew up in a tough neighborhood and was drawn to the allure of gang life early on. His nickname, Doc, came from his professional background, but his life would soon be dominated by crime rather than medicine. As he rose through the ranks of the Mongols, Cavazos became known for his ruthless leadership. He transformed the club into one of the most feared criminal organizations on the West Coast. Under his command, the Mongols expanded their illegal activities, including drug trafficking, extortion, and violent assaults. Cavazos' ambition led him to recruit members from street gangs, which caused friction within the club. The old guard disapproved of his methods, but Cavazos was determined to strengthen the Mongols' power. His aggressive tactics eventually caught the attention of law enforcement. In 2008, Operation Black Rain, a massive investigation by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosive culminated in the arrest of Cavazos and 37 other Mongols. The raid on his home in West Covina, California, uncovered firearms and bulletproof vests, further implicating him in criminal activities. Facing overwhelming evidence, Cavazos pleaded guilty to racketeering charges. He admitted to leading a violent criminal enterprise and was sentenced to 14 years in prison. His downfall marked a significant blow to the Mongols, but the legacy of his reign continues to cast a long shadow over the club. Number 3, Jeffrey Faye Pike Bandidos. Jeffrey Faye Pike, born in Conroe, Texas, rose to infamy as the national president of the Bandidos Motorcycle Club, a position he held for over a decade. Under his leadership, the Bandidos became synonymous with violence and criminal enterprise. Pike's journey into the world of outlaw motorcycle gangs began in the 1970s. By the time he ascended to the top of the Bandidos hierarchy, he had already established a reputation for ruthlessness. His tenure was marked by a series of violent confrontations with rival gangs, most notably the Hells Angels. In 2006, Pike and his vice president, John Xavier Portillo, orchestrated the murder of Anthony Benish, who was attempting to start a Texas chapter of the Hells Angels. Benish was gunned down outside an Austin restaurant, a chilling reminder of the lengths Pike would go to protect his turf. The Bandidos, under Pike's command, were involved in a wide array of criminal activities, including drug trafficking, extortion, and murder. Pike's approval was required for any major criminal operation, and he was known to sanction violent acts to maintain control and instill fear. In 2015, a violent clash between the Bandidos and the Cossacks at a Twin Peaks restaurant in Waco, Texas, left 9 people dead and many others injured. This incident drew national attention and highlighted the deadly rivalry between the two gangs. Pike's reign came to an end in 2018 when he was convicted on multiple charges, including racketeering, murder, and drug trafficking. The evidence presented at trial painted a grim picture of a man who had turned a motorcycle club into a criminal empire. Pike was sentenced to life in prison plus 10 years, marking the downfall of one of the most notorious figures in the outlaw biker world. Number 4. George Christie Hells Angels. George Christie, born in 1947 in Ventura, California, was a man of many faces. Known as Dirty George, he was a surfer, a Marine Corps reservist, and eventually one of the most notorious figures in the Hells Angels motorcycle club. His journey into the world of outlaw bikers began in the late 1960s, and by 1978 he had become the president of the Ventura chapter of the Hells Angels, a position he held for over 3 decades. Christie's leadership was marked by a series of high-profile crimes and violent confrontations. In 1977, he was involved in a brutal brawl with the Mongols at a motorcycle swap meet in Anaheim, which left several Mongols seriously injured. This was just the beginning of his long and tumultuous career in the Hells Angels. In 2001, Christie faced serious legal trouble when he was indicted on 59 counts related to prescription drug offenses. He spent a year in solitary confinement before taking a plea bargain. Despite this setback, he continued his criminal activities. In 2007, Christie orchestrated the firebombing of 2 rival tattoo parlors in Ventura, an act of intimidation to eliminate competition for his own tattoo business. This led to his arrest in 2011 on federal charges of extortion and arson. Christie's criminal activities didn't end there. He was also charged with conspiracy to interfere with commerce and spent another year in prison following a plea deal. Despite his criminal record, Christie managed to avoid lengthy prison sentences, often leveraging plea bargains to reduce his time behind bars. In 2013, Christie was once again in the spotlight when he was convicted of conspiracy to interfere with commerce, resulting in a 10-month prison sentence. His life of crime and leadership in the Hells Angels came to an end when he retired from the club in 2011, but his legacy as one of the most infamous Hells Angels leaders remains. Number 5. David Santillan Mongols Motorcycle Club, a group notorious for its violent and criminal activities. Born and raised in East Los Angeles, Santillan's journey into the world of outlaw bikers began in the late 1980s. By the time he became the national president of the Mongols, he had already established a reputation for his strategic mind and ruthless leadership. Under Santillan's command, the Mongols expanded their criminal enterprises, including drug trafficking, extortion, and violent confrontations with rival gangs like the Hells Angels. His leadership style was both feared and respected within the club as he navigated the treacherous waters of gang politics and law enforcement scrutiny. In 2018, the Mongols were convicted of racketeering and conspiracy, a significant blow to the club's operations. The trial revealed the extent of their criminal activities, including numerous murders and drug deals. Santillan's role as the leader made him a central figure in these proceedings. However, Santillan's downfall was not just due to his criminal activities. In 2021, a secretly recorded video surfaced showing Santillan in a vulnerable state, discussing his relationship with a retired ATF agent. This video led to accusations that he was a confidential informant. a claim that shook the foundations of the Mongols. Despite these allegations, a federal judge ruled that there was insufficient evidence to grant the Mongols a new trial. The video recorded by Santillan's estranged wife showed him tearfully discussing the need for an exit strategy as the ATF agent who had been protecting him was retiring. This revelation caused a rift within the club, leading to Santillan's ousting as president. Despite his fall from grace, Santillan's legacy within the Mongols Motorcycle Club remained significant. His tenure as president was marked by both expansion and controversy. Number 6. John the Egyptian Kashbalian. John the Egyptian Kashbalian was a prominent member of the Pagans Motorcycle Club, known for his strength and reputation as one of the best fighters in the gang. His story is intertwined with loyalty, betrayal, and crime. John had a close bond with Andrew Chef Glick, another member of the Pagans. Andrew was mentored by Ferdinand Freddy Algushello, a key figure in the club. However, when Andrew decided to cooperate with authorities and testify against Algushello in a murder trial, John felt betrayed. Determined to expose Andrew's actions, John took to social media, posting the entire list of state witnesses and sharing intimate photos, including one of Beverly Algushello, Freddy's wife. John's actions didn't go unnoticed. Authorities charged him with witness tampering and cyberbullying. In court, John pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 4 years of probation in 2019, along with a suspended jail sentence of 364 days. As part of his plea deal, he was ordered to cut off all contact with his victims and stay off social media. Today, John the Egyptian Kashbalian lived a private life away from the public eye, his current whereabouts unknown. Number 7. Keith Conan Richter. Keith Conan Richter, the national president of the Pagans Motorcycle Club, was a man whose life was steeped in the shadowy world of crime and violence. Known for his imposing presence and ruthless leadership, Richter's story is one of power, betrayal, and the relentless pursuit of control. Richter's criminal journey began long before he ascended to the top of the Pagans. He had a history of felony offenses, including conspiracy to commit murder and aggravated assault in aid of racketeering, for which he served a 16-year prison term. These early crimes set the stage for his future as a feared leader within the outlaw motorcycle gang. In February 2021, Richter attended a party hosted by the Pagans in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. As he traveled back to his home in Suffolk County, New York, law enforcement pulled over his vehicle in Mercer County, New Jersey. During the stop, officers discovered a loaded Ruger handgun in the front seat compartment. This discovery led to Richter's arrest on charges of illegal firearm possession, a serious offense given his status as a convicted felon. Richter pleaded guilty to the charges and in October 2021 was sentenced to 33 months in prison. This sentence was a significant blow to the Pagans as it removed their national leader from the streets. In addition to his prison term, Richter was also sentenced to 3 years of supervised release. Despite his incarceration, Richter's influence within the Pagans remained strong. His story is a testament to the enduring power and reach of outlaw motorcycle gangs and the ongoing efforts of law enforcement to dismantle their criminal enterprises. Number 8. William Big Jim Nolan. William Big Jim Nolan was a towering figure in the world of outlaw motorcycle gangs. His life was a tapestry of crime, power, and ruthless ambition. Nolan's journey into the dark underworld began in the early 1960s when he founded the Iron Cross motorcycle gang in West Palm Beach, Florida. His charisma and leadership skills quickly caught the attention of the Outlaws Motorcycle Club, and by 1967, Nolan had helped merge several Florida biker gangs into the Outlaws South Florida chapter. This chapter soon became notorious for its involvement in various criminal activities, including prostitution, narcotics, car theft, and grand larceny. One of the most infamous incidents involving Nolan occurred on November 14, 1967. 5 members of the Outlaws under Nolan's leadership crucified an 18-year-old woman named Christine Deese by nailing her to a tree in Jupiter, Florida. This brutal act was a response to her failure to turn over $10 demanded by the bikers. The incident drew widespread media attention and led Florida Governor Claude R. Kirk Jr. to vow to drive the Outlaws out of the state. Nolan's criminal empire continued to grow. His involvement in the club's illegal activities included drug trafficking, extortion, and ordering several murders. In 1989, Nolan was convicted of numerous violations of the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations RICO Act and was sentenced to 50 years in federal prison. Despite his incarceration, Nolan's legacy with broader outlaw motorcycle gang community remains significant. His story is a grim reminder of the violent and often brutal world of outlaw bikers, where loyalty is paramount and betrayal can be deadly. Number 9. Terry the Tramp Orendorff. Terry the Tramp Orendorff was a name that struck fear and commanded respect in the world of motorcycle gangs. As the international president of the Vagos Motorcycle Club for 26 years, his life was a whirlwind of crime, power struggles, and violent retribution. Born in 1947 in Alhambra, California, Terry grew up in a broken home with an absentee father. His tough upbringing on the streets instilled in him a fierce determination and a violent chip on his shoulder. This early life set the stage for his rise in the Vagos, one of the most notorious one-percenter motorcycle clubs. Under Terry's leadership, the Vagos expanded their influence far beyond Los Angeles, reaching into Wyoming, Hawaii, Oregon, Nevada, and even Japan. He guided the club through the turbulent eras of the 1960s and 1970s, marked by the pot smoke of the hippie movement and the violence fueled by drugs like cocaine and speed in the 1980s. Terry's reign was not without its internal conflicts. The Vagos were often embroiled in deadly wars with rival clubs and internal power struggles. Members who violated the club's honor codes faced horrific acts of retribution and revenge. Despite these challenges, Terry managed to maintain his grip on power for over 2 decades. Ironically, Terry's downfall came not from his violent exploits but from a white-collar crime. After 42 years of loyal service to the Vagos, he was ousted from his position and later jailed. His story is a testament to the brutal and often contradictory world of outlaw bikers, where loyalty and betrayal walk hand in hand. Number 10. Lou Dawkins. Lou Dawkins, a biochemist at the National Institutes of Health, founded the Pagans Motorcycle Club in 1957 in Prince George's County, Maryland. The club, initially a brotherhood of motorcyclists, evolved into a notorious outlaw motorcycle gang over the years. One of the most infamous incidents involving the Pagans occurred on June 14, 1966. On that day, a massive shootout erupted between the Pagans and the Virginia Avengers in an Arlington shopping center. This violent clash, which police described as the worst violence in the county since the Civil War, resulted in 1 youth being injured, 16 arrests, and the confiscation of a cache of bolt-action rifles and pistols. The Pagans were also linked to the tragic disappearance of 17-year-old Amy Billig in 1974. Paul Branch, a former member of the Pagans, confessed on his deathbed in 1998 that Amy had been abducted, drugged, assaulted, and murdered by members of the club. Number 11. Harry the Horse Flambeurus. In the turbulent streets of Daly City, California, the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club held a notorious reputation. Among their ranks was Harry the Horse Flambeurus, a man whose name became a symbol of both leadership and fear. As the president of the Daly City chapter, Flambeurus was deeply involved in the club's criminal activities. One fateful night in 1977, the dark underbelly of the Hells Angels world came to a head. Flambeurus was found murdered, a victim of the very violence he had often orchestrated. His death sent shockwaves through the biker community and beyond. The circumstances surrounding his murder were shrouded in mystery, with whispers of betrayal and revenge echoing through the streets. The Hells Angels, known for their fierce loyalty, honored their fallen leader in a unique and somber ceremony. On April 22, 1977, a contingent of Hells Angels gathered at Cypress Lawn Cemetery near San Francisco. In a rare and symbolic gesture, they buried Flambeus's motorcycle alongside him, ensuring that no one else would ever ride his prized possession. But the story of Harry Flambeus and the Hells Angels didn't end with his death. The club continued to be embroiled in a web of criminal activities, from drug trafficking to violent racketeering. The law enforcement agencies launched extensive investigations, uncovering a network of crimes that painted a grim picture of the gang's operations. Harry the Horse Flambeus's life and death serve as a reminder of the perilous path of crime and the inevitable consequences that follow. His legacy, marked by both fear and respect, remains a significant chapter in the history of the Hells Angels. Number 12. Otto Friedli. The tale of Otto Friedli, a man whose name is etched in the annals of motorcycle history. Born on June 28, 1931, in Madison, Wisconsin, Otto's journey was one of rebellion, leadership, and ultimately redemption. Otto's story begins with the Pissed Off Bastards of Bloomington, a motorcycle club that played a pivotal role in the infamous 1947 Hollister riot. This event, often dramatized as the birth of the outlaw biker image, set the stage for Otto's future. After the riot, Otto left the club and joined the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club, a name that would become synonymous with both camaraderie and controversy. In the 1950s, Otto faced his first major brush with the law. He was charged in connection with a robbery at the Miramar Hotel. This was just the beginning of his legal troubles. By the late 1960s, Otto was convicted of possessing a firearm during a raid on a Rancho Cucamonga ranch used by the Hells Angels. With a prior conviction already on his record, Otto was sentenced to 3 years in prison. It was during these years behind bars that Otto's life took a dramatic turn. He found solace in the pages of the Bible, spending hours each day reading and reflecting. This newfound faith led him to a path of redemption. After his release, Otto decided that the Hells Angels no longer represented the life he wanted to lead. He joined the Santa Barbara chapter of the Black Sheep Motorcycle Ministry, a group dedicated to spreading the word of Christ among Harley-Davidson riders. Otto Friedli's tale is one of transformation. From a rebellious youth to a leader of one of the most notorious motorcycle clubs, and finally to a man seeking redemption and peace. His story reminds us that even the most hardened individuals can find a new path, one that leads to a different kind of freedom. Number 13. George Baby Huey Weathern. The story of George Baby Huey Weathern, a man whose life was intertwined with the notorious Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. Known for his imposing presence and deep involvement in the club, Baby Huey's story is one of crime, betrayal, and ultimately a dramatic turn of events. George Weathern, nicknamed Baby Huey due to his large stature, was a prominent member and vice president of the Hells Angels Oakland chapter. His journey into the dark underbelly of the motorcycle club world began with his rise through the ranks, earning the trust and respect of his fellow members, including the infamous Sonny Barger. However, Baby Huey's life took a sinister turn when he became embroiled in a series of violent crimes. His ranch near Ukiah, California became the final resting place for 3 unfortunate souls. The bodies of 2 Hells Angels prospects, Big Tom Shull and Charles Baker, were found strangled and hidden in abandoned wells on the property. A young woman, Patricia Ann McKnight, was also discovered having been shot in the head. These gruesome discoveries painted a grim picture of the violent world Baby Huey was part of. In a twist of fate, Baby Huey decided to turn against his former comrades. Facing the weight of his crimes and the possibility of a long prison sentence, he struck a deal with law enforcement. In exchange for immunity, he testified against several Hells Angels members, including Sonny Barger. This act of betrayal shattered the code of silence that bound the club members together and led to his entry into the Witness Protection Program. George Baby Huey Weather's tale is an eerie reminder of the dangerous allure of the outlaw biker lifestyle. His story, filled with crime and betrayal, ultimately ends with a quest for survival and a break from the violent past that once defined him. Number 14. Ethan Centron. In the heart of North Las Vegas, the Dirty Ones motorcycle gang operated with a fierce reputation. Among their ranks was Ethan Centron, a name that would soon become infamous. On a fateful day in June 2023, the gang's clubhouse buzzed with activity. The air was thick with tension as members prepared for what would become a pivotal moment in their history. Ethan Centron, along with several other gang members, was accused of a heinous crime. They allegedly conspired to commit murder, targeting a man named Jason Lewis. The plan was brutal: surround Lewis's vehicle, drag him out, and eliminate him. Shots were fired, but miraculously Lewis escaped with his life. The aftermath was chaotic. The gang members scrambled to cover their tracks, removing evidence and hiding their weapons. Despite their efforts, the law caught up with them. A grand jury indicted Ethan Centron and his associates on charges of conspiracy to commit murder and racketeering. Ethan Centron's journey took a dramatic turn as he fled Nevada, seeking refuge in Pennsylvania. The authorities, however, were relentless. With a $20,000 bail set, Centron's days of freedom seemed numbered. This tale of crime and pursuit highlights the dark underworld of gang life, where loyalty and violence intertwine, and the law's long arm eventually catches up with those who dare to defy it.